All right, welcome to paper weaving. Okay, at this station, there's a couple things you're going to need. One thing you're going to need is one of these cutting mats because we're going to be using X-Acto knife. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need to grab yourself an X-Acto knife, and you're going to need to grab yourself a pair of scissors, as well as two different pictures from a magazine. Okay, so you're going to need to grab two pictures that are the same size. So whatever magazine you're working from, make sure that the images are similar in size. You can see I tore these out and I kind of got a crinkle here. I'm going to go ahead and trim these so they're exactly the same size. All right, so you can use the mat cutter to do this, but I'm going to cut them so I have the same size for both pictures. Right, perfect. All right, once I do this, I am going to set up my loom or my grid for weaving. So you're going to pick which picture you want to be your base picture. And I think I'm going to probably pick this one. Right? So my first step here is I need to create some slots or some slits into my paper so I can actually weave the paper through. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a 1/2-inch border all around my page. Right? So I'm going to do that first lightly with a 6B pencil. 6B pencil works good because it's not going to pierce through your paper like a hard H pencil would. So 6B pencil would be perfect for drawing on these lines. And I just eyeballed that. It's about 1/2 inch. It's just so that I have an area where I can put my slots or my slits in. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the top and I'm going to measure. And I'm going to make a little mark every 1/2 inch. For this step, you do want to use your ruler and measure. Okay. And it's okay if you have an uneven amount at the end. That's no big deal. Right? Once you've done that, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and connect your little dashes that you made to the bottom. If you are a person who struggles with straight lines, there are T-squares back there. They are for you to use. Please use them. T-square will really help you make a perfectly straight line. All right, I have all of my lines drawn on my page. Now it's time for the X-Acto knife. Okay, these blades are sharp. I just changed them all out, so they will cut your fingers. So you please be careful when you're cutting that you do not cut yourself. Right? So again, you're going to need to use the ruler here. And what you're going to do is you are going to go ahead and you are going to cut these lines from the top to the bottom, holding your ruler steady. You don't need to press real hard. The magazine paper is very thin. It will cut very easily. So you're just making a slit, and you're going to do this for every line that you've made. All right, I've cut through all of my lines, and I have something now that looks like this, which is perfect for paper weaving. I have my other image. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out my image so that I can weave it through this image. Now, if you want it to have perfectly the same size weave as the paper, then you're going to want to cut this paper out the same width as you did the line cuts. So it would be a 1/2 inch. If you want it to be something different, you can weave whatever size paper. You can vary it in size. Some can be small, some can be wide. That is totally up to you. So the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and cut this into strips. I would recommend using the ruler so that your paper stays straight. So go ahead and cut. All right, it's important that you keep your picture kind of in order as you cut it up if you're wanting it to kind of make sense when you weave. But I have my paper strips cut. I have my other picture ready to go. Right? And now I'm simply going to take my strips and I'm going to weave them in an over-under pattern. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you start under or over, but you're going to go ahead and weave these strips through in an under and over pattern. Right? And you would just continue weaving over, under until you filled up the whole page. Notice every row is different. So if you go under on this row, you need to go over on the next row and continue all the way down. Okay, this is somewhat of a time-consuming process because it requires a lot of patience, and you really have to take your time when you're folding the papers so that you don't rip anything and so that everything is kind of nice and tight in here. Paper weaving is great for collage. You don't necessarily have to use photos. You can collage painted papers together to create interesting textures. You can take previously made drawings and create slots in them and weave through, like this one. Here's a watercolor painting where maps were weaved through the painting itself. So paper weaving is very diverse. Okay, but we're just going to use magazines for our sample, and then as we move on to a bigger project, you can explore other options if you so desire.